All right, so as we this next section that we're about to have is where we're going to highlight some of the great work some of the organizations that Walker County is doing.
How you doing, brother?
I'm good.
Castro, I met him on day one of the CFCR&HE training, and over time I've been able to really develop a relationship with him. I've known Philip Cooper, who is over Operation Gateway since Philip was a senior in high school, and I was going to be his Navy recruit. So I've known Philip for quite some time. I've gotten to know Castro, and Castro has become like a little brother to me. We have a lot of dialogue, conversation about multiple things, but I'm really proud of the work that Castro's doing. So he's here on behalf of Operation Gateway. So everybody give him a round of applause as he comes up.
Hey, what's going on?
So yeah, my name is William Castro, and I represent Operation Gateway. And for those who don't know, Operation Gateway is the premier reentry organization in North Carolina. We started last year in July. There was one full-time staff member. I worked part-time, and then Philip was volunteering because he didn't have a full-time salary yet. And the budget was like 80 grand or something like that. And now we have 15 people full-time on staff, and the budget is like tripled or something. What we do is we use a process called the InReach, and our method is, we like to call it the full 180. So 90 days before an individual is scheduled to be released from prison, we do our best to make contact with them or their case managers. And whenever we can make contact with them, we start setting up an individualized reentry plan and then start working the steps. One of the reasons it's important to make contact as soon as possible before somebody gets out of prison, not only does reentry start the day somebody's incarcerated, but there are some federal and state programs that take about 6 to 8 weeks. So for example, it used to be called vocational rehab, and now it's called IPT, Employment and Independence for People with Disabilities. It takes about 6 to 8 weeks to get any services from them. So nobody has 6 to 8 weeks to sit around and wait once they're released from prison, because as someone who spent 12 and a half years in prison, the day that you're released, you're confronted with a mixed bag of things. So I was extremely grateful and I was terrified at the same time. And if there are resources that we can get to alleviate some of that pressure and that stress, then we want to get it to them as soon as possible. So upon release, someone from our team, one of the reentry navigators, will make contact, pick them up. We like to call it therapeutic transports, because now you have a captive audience in the vehicle with you, and you can speak and get to know the individual that you're serving on a little bit deeper level. And the majority of our team is formerly incarcerated, so we have the ability to connect, bond, and hold them accountable on a level that people that have not been in prison can't do. And so once the reentry navigator gets them in the vehicle, the first thing we secure is housing, unless the individual has severe mental health needs or like a high acuity, like they call it in the medical spaces. If they have that, then we have to address that before we can place them in a space where they're going to be living. If they don't have that, then housing is number one, and we address each one of the social determinants of health. And in our estimation, the most important social determinant of health is the social and community context, because we become what we surround ourselves with. You know that old adage, if you keep hanging around a barbershop, sooner or later you're gonna get a haircut. I believe that to be true. So yeah, I like your haircut. We got the same one. So now, while we don't try to force the individual this way or that way, since we're all community health workers and peer support specialists, when they tell us the things that they're interested in, we will connect them with resources, communities, networks, people in those spaces, so they have a sense of belonging, a sense of community. Because as everybody in this room knows, if they're not accepted by the community that wants them to be healthy, productive, contributor members of society, there's a couple other communities around here that will scoop them up and like throw them something, you know. So we do our best to address the whole individual, and we meet them where they are. If somebody comes home and they're ready to go and they're motivated, then we pour a whole lot more into them. Sometimes we get individuals that come home and they're just trying to see how much they can get from everybody, which is okay, but we do our best to pour into the ones that are actually doing the work for themselves. Because at the end of the day, prison and the free world are the exact opposite. In prison, the foundation or the concept that the prison system operates under is called learned helplessness, pioneered by B.F. Skinner. And it's basically, you do what we tell you to do, and we'll give you the basic human rights if we feel like it. So for 12 years, I didn't cook my own food, I didn't do my own laundry, I didn't do anything. But upon my release, it was the exact opposite. Then I had to cook my own food, do my own laundry, whatever. So it takes a level of, an individual has to be a self-starter, you have to be motivated, and we let the individuals that we're serving know this, and we model it, so hopefully they can catch it, because oftentimes lessons are caught, not taught. So that's the way we normally do things. Now, in response to the storm that just recently came through here and decimated Western North Carolina and other areas, not minimizing what it did anywhere else, all of our reentry efforts were put on pause. And to Abdullah's point earlier, we just put a call out there, and almost everybody in our network, community-based organizations and individuals from across the state and across the nation, sent an incredible amount of supplies. And the community here rose up in a way that I've never seen before. And we were fully focused on disaster relief. So we had 3 different rental trucks, and we had people taking stuff to Avery County, down to Lake Lure, up to Barnardsville, everywhere. I know personally the truck that I was driving, when I got it, it had 1,000 miles on it. I put 5,600 miles on it in 3.5 weeks. Not only that, there was the Eddington Center was fully staffed, and it was staffed, and there was a bunch of volunteers there. So like I said, the community came together as a whole to help those who really needed the help. And right now, Philip wasn't able to make it today because he is at the Eddington Center right now, if I'm not mistaken, with Mission 750. They were able to reallocate some funds from our Digital Champion grant in order to hire digital navigators to walk people through the FEMA process, because everybody qualifies for the 750, they just don't know about it. So as long as there are things and crises going on in the community, then when we can, we will put a pause on the normal day-to-day operations and focus on the crisis or focus on the most pressing need, and then go back to the everyday reentry process whenever things kind of stabilize. And they're starting to stabilize, but in my opinion, there's going to be a little bit lesser crisis. I don't even want to call it a crisis, but it's been my experience, because where I'm from, we get hurricanes all the time. After the initial destruction, people come in with a bunch of resources. The water may not be potable, the electricity may not be on, but after a few weeks, people stop coming in with those resources. Individuals in those communities still haven't been able to go back to work. The water runs out, what's the word? The canned food, I can't remember the other word. The non-perishable foods start running down, they start dwindling, and then people start feeling the pressure and the stress because they haven't been back to work, and now there is no more coming in. So we're doing our best to be prepared for when that happens, to be able to serve the community. One of the things that we did in order to alleviate some of the financial burden on the halfway houses was we made sure that they were fully stocked with not only water, but food and cleaning supplies. So when an individual got there, they could dedicate whatever funds they had to paying their rent, as opposed to going to get food and this and that. And we're working with 2 different organizations to get people signed up for Medicaid and HOP, and potentially get them not only some rental assistance, but fresh food, access to quality health care. And that's pretty much it. Are there any questions?
One question: how is HOP process being in response to has it changed? Is it still expedited process?
So indirectly, they made it easier because of the storm. Anybody that's applying for Medicaid is going to be approved like within 24 hours. The application process for HOP, it just opened up on the 28th of October. or reopened up on the 28th of October. And it's about the same.
Same process, but once you in Medicaid.
Right. Now, one thing that we have found, and I'll get to your question, is that if you have an applicant that's applying for HOP and they are on the phone with the people and they tell them that they used to suffer from substance use disorder or they have mental health, things with mental health that they're dealing with, they shoot to the top of the list. So we always recommend that people say that, if it's true.
So my question is, so with HOP and with the lack of housing here, HOP's paying for the first and last month, and the first deposit,
Yeah.
and rent. So what are the people gonna do that, so with housing not available? So what is in place for them? You know, they have a hope and the joy of knowing that when they find somewhere, the deposit in the first month is covered.
Yeah.
But, you know, then they're just scratching out, looking at them. Where do they go?
Honestly, that's a really tough question, but the honest answer is wherever they can find housing.
Outside of Asheville?
Sometimes it has to be. For example, I applied at 12 different apartment complexes before I found one that would rent to me, and I found it in Hendersonville. They did a background check and they were like, bring us the deposit, you're fine, come on. But none of the ones in Arden, Fletcher, or Asheville did that. So, and housing isn't just a crisis for individuals re-entering society, especially in Asheville. So they just gotta find it where they can find it, in my opinion.
Some of the barriers, the common barriers, you know.
Yeah, great question. So in my opinion, the strongest barrier is themselves thinking, people aren't gonna give me a chance. People are gonna judge me. I'm not gonna be able to make it. I don't know if I can make it. I'm not good enough. So that's the first barrier. And the way that we do the reentry navigation process is we look for small victories and then we stack them. So like if they don't have their social security card, we go up to the social security office and I'll stand beside them as they ask the questions, as they punch in their information on the kiosk. I'll sit there with them, but I'm not doing any of the talking. So by the time we walk out, they did all the work and they feel a little bit more confident, even if they don't say it. And for individuals that have been gone for a really long time, we'll do something simple like let's just go to the mall and just walk around. And like if sometimes there's a few big groups of people and you can kind of see them clench up and then, oh, I'm okay, nothing's gonna happen. So yeah, we just do our best to stack victories in order to help them build that self-confidence. And I wanna make this point too. A lot of people think that your self-confidence comes from you, and maybe as an adult it does, but 9 times out of 10, like your self-confidence comes from the people around you. Because once again, going back to the social and community context, if you came to me, let's say you came to me, Will, Hannah, and Jackie, and you were like, man, I think I want to start a business. And we were all like, man, you can't do that. Why? We ain't never started no business.
Right.
A part of you, that a little bit of that light that you had, the excitement from wanting to start your business is dimmed just a little. And if you hang around people like that too long, it'll dim your light a whole lot. So once again, the social and community context is super important, but there are barriers for people if they have certain charges that can't be in certain industries. Like there's certain charges that can't be in like a crowd-facing industry, or like if there's a larceny charge, then they might not be able to work in like a restaurant or run a cash register or whatever. But we have plenty of employer partners and connections with like the local community colleges to get them credentials that will allow them to make more money at jobs. Another thing is we don't connect people with jobs that don't pay a living wage because they're not living at home with their parents. Like they're out on their own. Does that answer your question? The employer partners that we have are, yeah. Any other questions? Okay.
All right, so the next organization we're going to spotlight not only runs a very successful youth program, state and nationally recognized. The way that it came about is Mr. Keenan Lake wrote a book about his dad, My daddy taught me that and developed a nonprofit organization off of that. And it's been up and running for 12 years. So we're gonna ask Miss Jackie Lake if she will come up here and have a conversation about the great work that they're doing in the community.
Okay. So I guess just a little bit about our organization in general and what we do is, the name of the organization is actual KL Training Solutions, and my daddy taught me that is our flagship program that everybody knows. But we have many programs under the umbrella. We have My Sister Taught Me That, we have junior programs, we have our community health workers, we have our ambassadors, which are those that have gone through the program and graduated and are older now and giving back to the younger kids. And then we also have our Alpha Mentor program, which is in the school systems. So we do a lot.
We have a track team.
Yep, we have a track team. Boys and girls, yes. That we had All-Americans this year on our track team as they competed in nationals. And so we had the same thing last year. So this year they were in Greensboro, which was nice, they're closer to home. Last year they were in Iowa. Yeah. So we, have different components. We have our academic component. So again, our Alpha Mentors are supporting our youth in schools, which started after COVID. So after COVID, getting students reacclimated back to having to get up early and go to school and sit down and pay attention and all those things. School system was struggling. I mean, they were struggling before COVID, but then after COVID, they were really struggling. And so they petitioned Keenan to send some of the mentors that were happening in program into the school system to help support with some of those behaviors and making sure kids were getting to class on time and not lingering out in the hallways. And then it bloomed from that to teachers asking them to come into the classrooms and support students while they were learning. So it's just been a growing program. We now have clubs at Asheville Middle School, Francine Delaney, and working on a club at Hall Fletcher and Asheville High, where those mentors lead a club, lead a group, and talk about, any and everything, what they're dealing with at school, what's going on in the world around us. We know politics is changing, and so I'm sure that is a conversation that will come up, but just having conversations and just being able to walk the kids through police interaction and expectations at school, how they should be behaving at school. It's not just about what the teacher's doing, but what are you doing to contribute to that dynamic, right? And so then we have, of course, what we call a program, right? Where that's what everybody knows. The conversations about mentorship, the teaching kids how to tie ties, teaching kids what it is to be a Black man, right, in America. And so those conversations happen at least twice a week. We feed the kids, and then they go on trips. I don't know, Keenan, where are all of y'all gone?
Took 100 kids to Missouri to the Kids Across America camp. That was 2017, 2018, 2019. We took 60 kids. Selma, Alabama. We walked shoulder to shoulder across the Indian Reservation. Jesse Jackson, Hillary Clinton. 10 feet homeless last year.
You gotta come here.
Oh,
So they can hear you online.
They gotta hear you. He's coming.
He said, "We are national."
Yeah.
So, some of the trips that we've taken over the years. So some of the things we do college campus tours, 3 college campus tours every year for our high school. So, we go to schools that our kids can get to. So all North Carolina-based schools, some South Carolina, some Georgia, but the majority of our schools have been HBCUs. We do that so our kids can have support, have a support system. We don't want to send them too far and they get out of state and can't have a support system. So those are some of the things we do. Really, the mindset is if they can see it, they can achieve it. So, 2018, I think 2017, we took 100 kids to the Kids Across America camp, which is in Missouri. We followed that the following year. We went to Selma, Alabama. Walked across the Edmonds Credit Bridge, shoulder to shoulder with Jesse Jackson. Hillary Clinton, Cory Booker was about 10 feet in front of us. The year after that, the year before that, we actually went to Louisiana, to New Orleans. We went to the Whitley Plantation and stuff like that. Went to Xavier University so our kids can see that. Last year, 2023, we took 25 teenagers to New York City. And so we won't be doing that trip again. We won't be doing that. Turk about killed us on the turnpike in New Jersey. We won't be doing that trip again. But real talk.
I knew that was coming.
Wilmington was different. You go on the turnpike, you can do a 90, you almost there, it was bad. But no.
And we just got back, right, from Carolina Panthers game.
Yeah, we took 100 people, about 65, 70 kids last Sunday to the Carolina Panther football game. We had 100 people, we had 2 trail buses, that was really cool. Shout out to the Carolina Panthers, they actually brought us down and kind of supported us through this hurricane that we went through. And so that's one of the staple points of our program, and to be quite honest, that's the carrot of our program. Our kids live in one way in, one way out communities. And so really being able to expose them to not only what's happening in their communities, but what's happening off this mountain. So again, exposing them to different cultures, different people, not only people who don't look like them, but people who do look like them. So they can see, and have all of it, again, the mindset that they can see it, they can achieve it. And so through our trips, what we have been able to do, like our college campus tours in 2018, was we graduated our biggest class. We had 6 youth graduate in 2018. 5 of the 6 went to college. And so, they went to the schools that we go to. And so that's been something that we just pride ourselves on doing. And so thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, thank you, Ms. Jackie.
We also have a job training component where we pair our kids with trades and jobs. Like, it's not just about helping them get a job, which we do, like McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, places like that, but also like pairing them with certain skills and trades, plumbers, electricians, chefs, all the things, right, that they can learn a trade and be able to take that with them for those who don't want to go to college or have other ambitions. And so that is the kind of crux of what we do as an organization. And then the storm hit and we had to pivot what we were doing. We turned this warehouse space that we're in right now that you can see on video into a distribution site. We had trucks coming in for 14 straight days. We filled up this warehouse 14 times and emptied it 14 times. So it would completely fill up and 18 times and empty. So we did the 18 times overall, but those first 14 days, it was in and out every day. But then we had to pivot from that because we didn't know how long our students would be out of school. We know that during COVID, the school system was caught off guard and wasn't prepared to be out and didn't have a plan for an extended period of time of kids not coming to school on a regular basis. And so we wanted to start very early on. So really after that first week, we were having conversations with Asheville City Schools about what does it look like? Like, do you have a plan? Are you developing a plan? And in the back of our mind thinking we need to have a plan of how to continue to educate our most vulnerable youth that can't afford to miss any time in school. If you don't know, Asheville has the #1 achievement gap in the state of North Carolina, and we're ranked in the top 5 in the nation. And so we can't afford to be missing any school. And so we emptied the warehouse so that we could turn this into a school. And so we partnered with YTL and Grace Covenant Church And they hosted our elementary school students, K-5, and then we had middle and high school students in this space. Our K-5 students did a reduced traditional learning day, right? They did the traditional, that we had teachers from Asheville City Schools from their grade levels that were doing like math, reading, foundations, the things that they normally get at school. In this place, we did more of a project-based learning thing, and they were at the project that our teacher chose was actually a nationwide competition of building a city that can float. And it just happened to fit with the fact that our city had been flooded. And so, it's just like things just started falling. I mean, it was just perfect to talk about why would you need a city that floats? Like, why is that important? Like, what did you learn from this storm that would tell you that that's important? Because nobody would think that was important before Asheville got flooded, right? And they got to go out on field trips around the city, see some of the damage that had happened outside of their neighborhoods. They learned about the difference between commercial zones and residential zones and like what it takes. Like I had a conversation, they wanted to reduce taxes for everybody, right? We weren't gonna pay taxes in this floating city, which I thought was wonderful. But I posed the question of who pays for your fire department? Who is gonna pay for the police department? Who is gonna pay for the education system? Who is gonna pay for the roads, right? They didn't know that that's where tax dollars are supposed to go.
The maintenance of the floating city too.
Right, yeah. So they didn't know like how, our public, services exist in our finance, right? I don't know where they thought that money came from. So they learned a lot. I mean, it was very educational. They had to scale. So that was like their math. They had to write essays and do research. So all of the traditional components were in this project-based learning that they did. And they've enjoyed it so much that in our after-school program, a lot of our kids that are in our after school participated in that program, and they're like, are we going to finish our city? Because we actually got to go back to school sooner than we thought, so they didn't get to finish their projects, but they were so interested there. That is an ask of like, how do we finish our projects? So we're working on that. And so we just kind of pivoted, I don't know, one day after the storm, we were in here. Our building here never lost power, so that was great for us that we were able to be in the space and have lights and things like that so that people could come in and drop things off. And now we're trying to figure out, and our community health workers, right, did an awesome job of like door knocking in our communities and finding out what people needed, delivering resources to those that couldn't get out to these distribution sites and resource hubs. And so they spent an entire month just out in community every day, carrying those huge cases of water, because we still don't have clean water here to drink from. So carrying those cases of water to people, making sure people had what they needed, hot meals, deliveries, and just really making sure that they were taking care of their community. And so everybody, they went to work in 6 days. I mean, it's just been crazy. And we're trying to kind of return to normal, but it's still not normal. Again, we still don't have drinking water, so it's not normal for us, but trying to get back into what normalcy is going to look like for us for the next however long it is, of like, we're back to our after school model because the kids are back in school. Our community health workers are still supporting in community with, checking on those elderly people, the most vulnerable in the community. They're still checking on them, door knocking on them, making sure they get hot food, and still trying to be, present and serve the community to the best of our ability. And that's what we'll continue to do. And then also thinking about like, how do we continue to serve community for the long haul? Like once we move away from this crisis, I feel like we're in stage 2. Stage 1 was the initial crisis, but long term, what does that look like for our community? And so how do we continue to evolve our program and what we're doing as an organization to really meet the needs of the people?
Yeah, I know doing,
Oh, we'll cut down trees too. We had Will out there cutting down trees.
doing the storm, the runoff, the distribution, and everything, I know it's a lot of. Talk about the impact that this program has to the children and youth to have that sense of urgency and give back to the community and put that into dollars.
Yeah, we did have a few of our young people here doing the storm, those that could get out and get transportation or walk, or had somebody that was also coming to volunteer. And it's just awesome that, you know, the kids saw too, like, man, this is bad. Like, this is bad. People need our help and we want to get out and help. I mean, it felt really good because it means that, you know, they're listening to all the things that we're saying to them, even when we feel like they're not listening. And we're quick to say that kids don't care. I'm quick to say kids don't care. I'm guilty of that. You know, we are, I mean, they do act like they don't care. They walk around this nonchalant attitude all the time. But when a crisis hit, you know, they showed that they really do care. I mean, we had middle schoolers and high schoolers in here, you know, helping with like piling up all this water over here on the side. Like, a lot of the kids did that. And so, like, cleaning up the space, if they didn't know what to do, they would hang out. And like, if we didn't have a truck coming in and everything was organized, they would just hang out here. And when's the next truck coming? Do you know when the next truck's coming? They wouldn't leave. They wouldn't go home. Right. Right. They had power here. They could plug up their phone. But it was really good. And not just here, we had some of our kids serving at Eddington. I know we had a young man that we ended up actually giving him a stipend because they were like, he was working this like it was a job. He showed up every day at 9 o'clock on the dot. He would work until lunchtime. He'd go home and take a nap because he was so tired. And then he would show back up in the afternoon and work until we told him to go home because we were closing. Yeah. So we ended up giving him a stipend, but it was good to hear that praise from somewhere else. Like, he didn't know that was going to get back to us. He wasn't doing that with the expectation of getting anything. Right. He was just doing it because he saw that there was a need and that was something that he could do. And when I talked to him about it, he said, ain't no reason to me just sitting at home being bored. At least get up and do something. And I'm like, well, you've been listening. All right. And so it's really great to see organizations coming together as a whole. I know there's some partnerships that are developing and starting to grow. This is just bringing community together, kind of tearing down some of those walls that have been built up, especially here in Asheville. I feel like we are so divided sometimes around certain issues, but it takes a natural disaster, I guess, to like wash all that away.
There you go.
Yeah. Get your life together. But it's been really good, and it's been a great experience. Just to see community come together, kids show up. We didn't really have to hound kids about coming to school. We intentionally were thinking about starting later in the day, thinking they would want to sleep in, right? As a teenager, that's what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. But Asheville City Schools wanted to have something at 11 for their students. And so that pushed our timeline up because we didn't want to take the kids away from the city schools. That wasn't the goal. That was never the goal. So we had to push our time up, and kids were here at 8:30, just like it was a normal school day, like they were going to school. So that was really cool to see too. Yep. Okay.
All right, so the next person I'm ready to bring up is, by the way, Jackie is the program manager for the violence intervention program, that CPRB is housed under, and she leads the team. The next person I'm gonna bring up is actually the lead community health worker, and it is a title that is well deserved. It's a young man that has lived experience, very versatile, very soft-spoken, but when he speaks, it is worthy of you listening to him because he is very deep, and when he speaks, it is very, more often than not, very profound. So much as he works for one organization, but he was part of helping found another organization, which is YTL, which stands for Youth Transform for Life. And because Libby couldn't be here, Tony is going to come up and speak about the work that YTL is doing, prior to the storm and after the storm. So without further ado, Mr. Tony Tibbs.
Alright. Just checking in on everybody. There's a lot of information and resources. How we feeling? Back tight, ain't it? Young man. Told you about it. Okay. Well, I'm Tony Shivers. I'm one of 3 co-founders for YTL training program with Libby Cowles and Yashika Smith. We started it back in 2015, only to find out that when we was working doing a summer camp, find out that there was an actual need. People started coming up because we actually just was learning, they would say fly a plane and learn how to fly on the fly. After that, there was no more after school, no more program, no nothing. So it's like people are still coming to us asking us to start a program. So I looked at Miss Libby and just asked her to just give me an opportunity to do what we like to do. And she listened to us and started typing some stuff up, and we created a program and started working with Keenan. We actually umbrellaed under Keenan for a while before we gained our legs and began to fly. So we started with our after-school program. And with our after-school program, it allowed us to actually advocate for the youth, be the voice for parents that when they had teacher conferences and things like that, the information and the language that is needed when advocating for a student, a lot of parents didn't have that. So when they went to school trying to advocate for their child, they wasn't listened to, or if they was in, they talked about the IEP plans, the individual plan for that person, the parent kind of shuts down because they don't have anybody in the room to support and advocate for them. So I started going in, helping out, because we had teams that had half a days. They couldn't be in school because they was actually getting in trouble, and they didn't have enough people there to actually support that student, and they would kick them out of school at 12. So I started going in, and actually the young man was helping me because I was still learning how to communicate, and he was therapeutic to me, but I was looking at myself all over again, because when he was actually trying to communicate, but he communicated in different ways. So I'm saying that to say this, that through advocacy, we ended up starting we did the after school, the summer camp. The summer camp was my favorite. I never rode horses or anything, so it gave me the opportunity to ride horses. So swimming, we went zip lining, all kind of stuff that I wanted to do as a kid. I got to do it living through the lives of those young kids. And then through that summer program, I got to be the facilitator. Also, I did the meditations, I did the affirmations, and every day I would do an affirmation because I knew while I was doing time in prison without positive affirmation, I don't know what I would be doing. Because normally you sit around people and they're either influencing you to do wrong or they're influencing you to do right. And so I wanted to be whatever I let come into my mind and my body, and your spirit start feasting on that, you begin to operate in that. So I believe that in positive affirmation, it pushed my body to move in that kind of energy. So with those teenagers that was dealing with self-esteem problems, and then also didn't have the confidence, and then dealing with identity. When you're dealing with identity at that age, you're not knowing who you want to be, what you want to be when you grow up. And so we were just trying to actually sit and have a safe space for them to spend time with themselves and actually know what they wanted to be when they grow up. So we were just trying to plant good seeds that would eventually grow. And when I actually got to see one good seed yesterday when we was out there doing the mulch, when y'all left, one of the mentees just came up and grabbed the shovel, and through the blessing of Abdullah and Keenan, I was able to provide him finances for helping me out. He just came up, hey, Mr. Tony, you need some help. And he grabbed the wheelbarrow and the shovel and he started going. And then all the other kids started coming because of him. And I was like, yo, this is it right here. And so just having a relationship with him allowed that mulch to get done because that was yeah, I told him we'd be done in an hour. Man, layer after layer after layer, I was just like, I think I spoke, I put my foot in my mouth on this one. 3 hours later, it was dark when I left, but the simple fact was that only through those relationships, because one of the guys came up and said, is he your teacher? And I was like, no, I mentored him a couple times. And so it gave him the opportunity to build a relationship with somebody that was younger than him. And so now he's telling me he working, doing everything. So that gives me the opportunity to rekindle that relationship too, because I haven't seen him since he graduated from school. And so we do Grace Group. So Grace is kind of, it's more geared towards the young ladies, Roses and Moss, and they doing a lot of therapeutic stuff where they have groups at Isaac Dixon, Asheville Middle, all the Asheville and Buncombe, and they have other staff that goes in and facilitate these groups where they come in and they teaching them certain things. And Walter was one of the teachers that helped at Isaac Dixon. And so he facilitated. I went in and just sat against the wall and supported him. And so that's how that worked out. Took pictures while they did that. And then you got the outreach. I call it's outreach and advocacy, but I think of it like enrichment. Because you're enriching the lives of people just by being present, by showing up. As you build relationships, you build trust. And then they able to trust you to advocate for them. So in building a relationship with their children, you also have that connection with the family because the children go home talking about the program, and then the families get invested because they want to know why their children are talking a different language, why they're coming home, paying attention with different awareness, and they're able to speak another language. So the parents want to get involved, and then the parents get involved, and then communities start getting involved. And so YTL, it actually is an acronym for Tony, Libby, and Yashika. I just changed it because part of my dyslexia, I'm good with words. I just read left to right instead of right to left. And so I put that acronym together. And it's actually one of my superpowers now since I can read both ways. And so that's all I have.
introduce them and get this mic running.
So this next, organization that we're gonna highlight is gonna be just a little bit different because they joined us through Zoom. They have a lot of stuff going on today, so they couldn't be here present. But we're gonna bring them on the screen and have it on Bluetooth to where they're able to hear us and speak to us. This is Unite. It is, they serve the Latino community here. They do have community health workers, training, crime prevention, in this organization as well. And they are doing a lot of great work, here to support not only the Latino, community, but the Black community as well. So as soon as our movement gets pulled up, the next one here is that of, representative from Unite.
Can you guys speak? Let me see if we can hear you actually.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Check.
but I think I'm trying to get you to the, somebody grab Jackie for me?
Check.
Can you guys hear them?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You're good. Hold on.
All right.
Let me get you pinned up here. No, you're good. I guess I'll shift around to Louisa. Hey, Louisa.
Hey, how are you?
Hi. Let me get you.
Yeah, click down here, like for that. Yeah, volume, either one of those. And go here. Go to new device, go scroll down, can you scroll down? Either one of those.
Okay. I'm gonna let you guys begin, and then she may come and be just right here trying to do some audio stuff. They can hear you, but we want to make sure they hear you completely.
Okay, can you hear us? Can you hear us?
I hear you. You're good. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you so much. All righty. So thank you everybody for having us. I mean, it's amazing to hear what the great work that everybody's doing, and more during normal times and now with this madness and craziness. Very interesting. Thank you. I mean, thank you for being more detailed on everything. So I can start with Unite. We have two pillars. One is education and another one is wellness. And every program that we have, we utilize the community health worker model. And we have 8 community health workers right now, and we cover 5 counties. As I mentioned in wellness, it was the first one when it started on during COVID times. We covering Buncombe, Henderson, Haywood, Jackson, and Transylvania. And we were providing information, resources, and services to our community. And great collaborations with different health departments to bring wellness checks, vaccines, and extra information that the community will need during food distributions or in mobile home parks, in nurseries, farms, in the fields. So it's having in mind always the underserved population, and we serve everybody. It's not just a Latino community. We try to serve everybody. So that is about wellness, and we also have been supporting and promoting surveys. The last one was the WNC Health Network Community Health Assessment. And yeah, okay, this is better. So with that one, is the idea is to bring the voices of those underserved to the people who are designing the programs and services provided by the government related to health. So that was during normal times. As we know, Helene hit Western North Carolina, and the response has been amazing. We received also donations and everything. We turn our location into a distribution place for the community. And the first weeks were providing hot meals and water was the main basic needs because not everybody had water at the beginning. So then we start to have people will come anytime and get all those are basic resources. And then we understood that the community needed a kind of a way to release the steam that has been building up. We have an event that we had hot meals, 650 hot meals provided by the Food Connection and the Red Cross. And then we have a inflatable for the kids. And then we have a massage and we have aromatherapy and a free clinic also. Check it out. So it was a good moment to being in community so they can see that everybody needed and seeing and celebrating the small victories as Castro was mentioning. Then we have the water, and then we have another event. We was like supporting our community with the D-SNAP, which it was a great resource. However, communication wasn't out there, and let's not forget about that everybody would qualify for this program, and unfortunately for our community, the programs that provided by FEMA they don't qualify to all of them. And then last Friday, a week ago, we have another event that we had our community getting the rice, beans, and basic staples that we'll be getting. And we forecast an attendance 35, 50 people, and we had 175. So it was a great turnout. And as I mentioned before, the community, they don't qualify for all the services. The stress, the mental health situation, we have an event, a situation of a gentleman who showed up and mentioned that he was helping. He lost his job in Asheville, so he was in Swannanoa helping with cleaning, getting some money doing that. But he never expected to be cleaning dead bodies. And what he faced, he was very graphic, describing what he was experiencing. And it still haunted me. He said he's not able to eat meat and is not able to sleep well. Mental health is going to be something that we need to be paying attention. So that's why we are exploring options for that to provide to the community. And today we have an event here in our location where we have Red Cross, Buncombe County Mobile Clinic. We have nurses for wellness checks. We have food. We have people that are resources as well. But the other pillar, which is education, is we have our youth groups. We have Manos, which is for the high schoolers. And then we have around 30 students that we bring here to our location. We provide healthy meals. And we have the mentors and academic support. And as you mentioned, we also try not to just make them go through high school, but also support it to find. Unfortunately, not everybody qualifies for university. For those who do, they receive support filling out the FAFSA application. We take them to UNCA and other options that they may have. And for others, we take it to AB Tech, trying to find a technical career, anything that they might like it. Last year, we have apprenticeship for our organization that they do weatherization for homes. And they will be working during summertime. And then if they like it, then they may qualify to be for them to pay for the AB Tech career that they may like. But that has been during regular times. And Luisa, who is the youth coordinator, can explain a little bit what we have been doing during this healing recovery times. Luisa?
Yes. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah. First, I want to say thank you for all that what you do for the community. It's amazing how the community came together and helped each other in these difficult times. So, as Jose mentioned it, we have two programs for the youth. We have the Manus programs that is for high schoolers, and we have the Faros program that is for middle schoolers. So the first we did after the storm was reaching out the families to see how they do, what are their needs. We personally visit their homes and provide them with essential supplies from the one that was more needed. Also, we encourage the students to volunteer, and we receive a great response from the students who have been present in Unity every day, helping, assisting with various tasks such as cooking, packing, gathering information. They just want to be there helping, and that's amazing. It's a way to promote a values of collaboration. So this is happening every day at UNETE. So, and it's open to all communities, as Jose mentioned it. We also organize recreational integration like activities such as games, soccer, painting, sports, math tutoring. We started doing this because the kids, they were complaining that they were boring at home. They were like stressed. And then, Miss Norma, she just, start with this idea of doing recreational events for the community, and was awesome. I mean, we have a lot of people coming to visit. They were happy with all the supplies, with all the food and the help, and we guide them to find the resources that they needed. So it's been really amazing to see how everyone's come together, and this was a good opportunity to build relationships and a stronger relationship with the families and with the kids and with the community. So thank you for all your support. We keep doing this, so thank you.
Thank you, Luisa. Yeah, and we have water, which is the main need, and we have 3 potable water trucks in the parking lot. And I feel like has been a great effort to see the community coming together, and also collaboration is the key. Collaboration has been the key for us to be able to go and rebuild this city. I think it's gonna take a minute, but hearing all the efforts that you guys are doing and everybody's doing, I think that it's gonna be easier, and it's gonna be coming back stronger than before. Thank you guys, and have a blessed day.
Yes, and also you guys don't know, but actually Jose is going to be one of the few premier community health worker supervisor trainers coming up inside the state. Oh, wow. So yeah, he's one of the guys. He didn't mention that. We want to mention he's going to be the only one inside the actual Bunker County, actual Western North Carolina, right?
Yeah.
Yes, one of the very few is bilingual, couple of bilinguals. I want to add that he didn't plug himself, so I want to plug it. And obviously, Luisa is the CSW VPP. She's a part of the second cohort, I believe, of those that's here. So we appreciate you guys sharing with us. And we also know you guys got an amazing event going on right now. You took your time out to come and share with us. So thank you so much. And thanks, Norma, for us personally. All right. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
All righty. All right, so we heard from 2 of the organizations that are part of the Community Violence Initiative Program. We heard from My Daddy Talkative, which is the lead organization. We heard from YTL, Youth Transform for Life. Now you're going to get a chance to hear about the Spark Foundation. Jackie Latek is the executive director with the Spark Foundation. Walter, Wendy, and Tony Shivers are the CHWs that we house in this work through the Spark Foundation. I'm gonna ask Walter, slash Tony to come up and speak about the Spark Foundation. Oh, and
Come on, come on, come on. Yeah.
Look, I was cheering them on. I'm being supportive to my teammates.
Yeah, so we're the Spark team, the CHW wing of Spark. Spark started out as a temp agency and has grown into domestic violence intervention programs, usually for the males involved into the domestic situation. We have therapists that teach them decision-making skills, how to, change patterns of behavior, to give them the tools to navigate different situations. When I sit in on those meetings, I am a support. I'm very new to the work, but the tools are so powerful. Some of the stuff that I gained from it was violence is a form of communication, a very low form of communication. And so once they see what it really is and how they're not able to process some of these emotions, even though, in the moment, just giving them the skills to take a step back has been helpful for at least for the gentlemen that I've interacted with. Also, under the same house, Wendy does some of her wonderful work, and
So under Spark, I run my love program. This is Life as an Office every day, working with lost children. It started off as just to gun violence, and now I have others I also work with overdoses and substance use. And within that program, basically what we do is love on each other. We support each other. We lean on each other. Sometimes when I'm lucky, I can get several of them together and then go to dinner together. And just show up for one another. And at the same time, I've also built some relationships with some mental health counseling and offered to pay for some of those services for women if we have cases. And, just let them know you have them there to support you and love you while you're going through the
They said dog. I'll add, Spark is not expanding its collaboration with education. So our teach on Thursday is a strong policy class. When individuals either are through probation, through the justice system, through the DBR program, coming to that class, it's a 13-week class that Yashika Smith leads, and I support her. And through that class on Thursdays, it's about 2 hours, and we just talk about man-to-man stuff. Some days they come in and they talk about how court went. They talk about how people come in, take the kids out, and they can't see the kids, and so just being a support system and then giving them the right, like education, meaning the language and the information that's needed. Get their children back or be aware of some of the negative things that we are doing to distance us from our kids. And then also, as I used to work at Goodwill, so when I came over to Spark in 2017, I had the lens of reentry. So when I came and I started working with Spark, a lot of individuals that was coming out of prison didn't have the resources that they needed to go to work, get shoes and stuff for a job. They didn't have like the resources they needed to come back into society and be productive. And I was just that vehicle for them, not advocate for them, because this was the first time in my life that my negative background gave me influence to be able to do the right thing. And those same individuals that seen when I was doing negative, I was the one giving them pass. So now it's like, yo, you working now, bro? You working on all people? Like, you go to work every day? Yeah, bro, I go to work every day. I got a family now, I'm doing this, and so now it's like, yo, if you can go to work, I could go to work. And so all I was doing was trying to model it first for them. So Spark is so many different programs. What else? We got family.
Oh yeah, you got the family thing. I was about to say the reason why everybody's back is hurting for the people in Zoom land. It was one of my proposals to reclaim a playground in one of our public housing sites. We were just a lot of drug activity was going on in there, and my proposal had them shoveling 40 yards of mulch yesterday. So that's why everybody's kind of limping around here. So yeah.
So they do have a visitation team that actually Spark is a safe space for them to bring their family. They have a social worker on board where they come in and they can actually visit at the same time, and you'll have a neutral meeting. Also, they got people in Hendersonville and some other places. It's a big team. It's probably about 15, 20 people.
Transylvania County.
So they do a lot of more groups and stuff. Really, the tropical storm had us all out on the yard in front of the job. And hurricane. Yeah. I was like, yo, when did they hire you? Where you been? So we all sitting out there eating barbecue, walking and walking. It was all right because it was. I actually got to see the counterparts of who all worked there, and then I can start putting eyes on who ran the program now. Because sometimes it adjusts while we out doing stuff. And you think that same person is running that program and they're not.
I guess also just to build on that, I'm seeing more collaboration in the office now. As before, they had their own caseload, and I just saw their name on a piece of paper with a phone number. Now, like you said, you see them and they're working together, because like if somebody's breaking down, you know, they were crying or whatever, they would be like, hey, come on over here, I got you. The resources over here. Now your client is good to go. And it just, you know, just seeing how they were coming together for each other to help their clients, it helped me as well. So, and I see that being a continual process. So I'm with these guys, I'm trying to keep that humanitarian spirit going in community. Instead of breaking off into our own little caseloads, we're like, hey, how you doing? Hey, we got this little think tank going on over here. Why don't you come through? And then we work with each other. So that's been the plus for me coming out of this.
And then we work in Starbucks, and so when people get frustrated, we tell them go take a walk, go get a coffee, get a Danish, go breathe a little bit. That work still gonna be there when you get back. So go take care of yourself. So having the opportunity to take care of yourself is the most important, so you don't get burned out. And so most of the time we feel like that we are the savior, and we're not the savior. We just components of information, and if we're not taking care of ourselves, we cannot be a support for the community. That's it.
Get in now, say we'll slow walk. No, I'm good. I'm chilling. I'll just say this, I do have one more thing that I want to do before we close the session out. I want to say, folks, it is amazing, how much you can learn. I was just sitting there reflecting as I'm listening to everyone talk about when I first started this job in the first conversation, that Hannah suggested I have with Abdullah. I didn't know Abdullah from anything, but she was like, he's going to teach you what you need to know. And Abdullah didn't just ease me into it. You know, he was demanding on some things, but we immediately developed a relationship. And he told me straight up, I'm going to know if you are about what you say that you are. And I hope that I've lived up to that so far, but I know that I still have a long way to go. But I'm sitting and listening to all of you that were in the same boat as myself at one time, where we didn't understand what CPRV was about. Now seeing what Cape Fear has been able to do, it's nothing less than inspirational to us here in Buncombe County. To hear someone like Vance that's been doing it for a while, Miss Brenda, the first person ever to be trained in North Carolina in CPRV. We have big shoes to fill, Buncombe County. But what I am confident of is we're going to do it the right way, but more importantly, we're going to figure out how to do it together. I'm not talking about the paid organizations. I'm talking about everyone that has come under this umbrella of CPRV. We're going to figure out how we can support one another in order to better support our communities, because it's a must. We have to do it. Whether you realize it or not, this is not just about us here in Buncombe County. We're not going to let our partners and our family in the Cape Fear region down by no means. And when I look at you guys and how together you are, and I'm not saying that y'all never have issues with one another and whatnot. I'm not saying that, because I'm sure as people, those things are going to arise. But we can learn a lot from you guys about how, as we say, how we can rock with one another.
Yes.
You know, so, and that's where we are. Yes. Make no mistake about it. There are people out here that thrive on seeing us at each other's necks. But that's not who we are. We came under this umbrella for a reason, because every one of you have a reason why you wanted to do this work, why you do this work. You always hear the why. And once you understand the why, nothing else really matters once you figure out what it is that drives me to do this work. And so I just encourage, if we take nothing else from this whole weekend, is don't forget your why. So I know Hannah told me some very exciting news yesterday that I want her to come up. I'm going to request that she come up. I don't want to sound like I'm telling her what to do or anything, but I'm going to request Hannah to come up and share this great news, because it is so much in line of what we talked about at last year's summit. For those of us that were able to go up to Wilmington, we talked a lot about the school to prison pipeline. Okay. So this information that Hannah's ready to share is worthy of her having this course. So, Ms. Hannah Leckerson.
Thank you, Will, for that. I have to admit, this is really new really new data. So I'm really looking forward to digging deeper into it with community partners and with folks from the schools and the justice system stakeholders. So this is just the new data, but from over the past few years, there's been a lot of efforts around trying to reduce unnecessary charges or complaints being filed on young people for low-level behaviors in schools. And previously, for instance, like last year, well, or the past couple of years, the percentage of complaints that have been filed in Buncombe County on young people that came from the schools has been way higher than the state average. So 2 years ago, there were 57.6%, almost 58% of the complaints that were filed on young people came from schools. There were school-based complaints. Last year, 48% of complaints that were filed on young people came from the schools. And, sorry, that was 2 years ago. And then last year, that finished up in June, we saw a really significant drop. And so last year, what's that? This is Buncombe County specifically. So the year that ended in June of 23, we'd had 336 charges or complaints filed on young people that came from the schools. And last year we had 181. And so that dropped from almost 49% of complaints filed coming from schools to 27.5% of the complaints filed on young people coming from schools. And that also we saw a significant drop of overall complaints filed. So there's a lot to unpack there. We know that through I support the chief district court judge and Judge Hill and Judge Johnson-Smith as they convene school and justice system partners in the school justice partnership, where they've been looking at ways to reduce low-level referrals to the juvenile justice system. And about a year and a half ago, in line with the goals of school justice partnership, the court counselors began for 4 charges plus truancy for disorderly conduct by fighting, simple possession of marijuana, drug paraphernalia, and vaping. When somebody would call them to file a complaint from the schools, they would ask, what else have you done first? And try to encourage them to try to find alternative responses, whether school-based or community referral-based, to explore those options before coming back and actually filing a complaint. And then with truancy as well, there's been some shifts in trying to encourage schools to find alternative methods rather than the juvenile justice system. We've also, with the programs that are funded by the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, really been encouraging getting the information out to schools around what the programs do and how they could refer to a program as a resource if it seems like a good fit for a young person, as opposed to feeling there used to be a perception that they needed to file a charge or file a complaint on a young person in order to get them access to certain resources, and really trying to shift that mindset, really increase awareness of what community resources there are. And then I also know that the schools have really increased their collaboration with community organizations. Like my daddy taught me that, with YTL, with Umoja, with Black Men Mondays, shout out to Brandon, and with Umoja, with Unite, and other community-based organizations, really bringing them more into schools and leaning on them more heavily, as well as like referring out. So again, this is just the big, like we got the state of this week. So I did just want to lift that up and really hope that we can continue building on that momentum.
All right, so that's gonna wrap up, but I'm not going to close up without giving a shout out to Black Man Mondays. Brandon just had to go take care of some things, so he's not gonna speak today. But they're doing great work in the schools, in the community. Just a little context, I met Brandon, he started working at RHA shortly after I started in this role. And, you know, me and him have gotten really tight, just like my brother, you know, and they're doing great work with Black Man Mondays. So just keep your ear to the ground. You're gonna hear a lot more about them around the state, things that they're doing. You know, and they stand on business. So that's one thing I can say. I will give Brandon a shout out because, you know, as the storm hit, Brandon had never been to my house before. And I look out of my front door, I'm sitting in the house, no lights on, no nothing. And I'm like, man, who in the world is this pulled up in my yard? And it's Brandon and his son figured out where I lived at, came to check on me. And the next thing you know, me and him were out checking on people. The first person we went to check on was my pastor. And he'll tell you, we had about 150 yards of trees to climb over to get to my pastor's house and then walk up the bank to go check on him. Still had no idea of how bad the devastation really was until me, Brandon, and his son Jackson went to Swanner North, and that's when it all hit. To see complete trailer parks that had been washed away. To know that you were walking on a road that was mud and dirt now, where the road is washed away, that we had traveled over many times, and standing on the bridge and looking at the devastation and seeing people trying to dig things out of the mud. It's where it hit home for me. Brandon and I had a conversation which led to me, Keenan, and Jackie having a meeting that Sunday. That Monday, me, Brandon, and Keenan met and went to Lowe's and got chainsaws, and it was on and popping from there. There were some days that me and Brandon would meet at 7 o'clock in the morning and it was 8 o'clock at night when we were just now finishing up for the day. So we worked some long days, but it was never a complaint, not one. And that's the kind of men that are part of the organization of Black Men Mondays. You know, knowledge was out in the community, down at the Grant Center a lot, helping with their distribution center, which it was much needed, getting resources out, you know. And I remember the day that me and Brandon was in the truck on the way here, we hadn't heard from you because no cell phone rang, and it was funny how just to ride by somebody and blow the horn and to hear them blow the horn back saying that I'm okay, and how much that meant. But that's just the kind of men that are in this community. And I think what I'm trying to convey to everyone is once we figure out how to support one another, how to uplift one another, it's going to be a powerful dynamic here in Buckingham. Cape Fear, thank you so much for coming down and doing everything that you have done, that you continue to do. We greatly appreciate you. It's all love, as you say, Abdullah, and it truly is all love. Thank you all for staying with us throughout the day, for everybody that was on the Zoom. We appreciate it so much, and I look forward to the growth of the CPRV model. Just to let all of you know, because of the influence of Abdullah, I was able to advocate some things as far as the CPRV model through the Office of Violence Prevention for North Carolina. Those results are going to get released on Tuesday. I will send them to Abdullah and he can share them with you, but just to give you some context, what I'm pushing for is for CPRV to be the model for community health workers around the state of North Carolina. So far, so good. So keep lifting it up, keep praying about it, but good things are happening surrounding the CPRV model, not just on a state level, but on a national level. So again, thank you everyone for what you do. Thank you for being here with us. And that's all I got, Mr. Abdul. I'm gonna turn it over to you. Good job.